Okay, here's today's kettlebell cycle coming right up. Um, so I don't have Batman face like where it's chin only here. No, alright. Okay. Hey guys, I've already done the warm up and everything else. Uh, Videos are coming. But anyway, I'm just doing these like videos. Again, these are more for like people who are doing like more advanced stuff. Um, so that way they can just do my workout. I would do this like via live, but clearly I am just not Instagram famous enough for that, and there's minimal interaction. So that's why I'm not doing it, and it's honestly I don't really care anyway. So um, yeah, this I can just put on YouTube and Instagram. I mean, whatever. um, yeah, and since I'm working out by myself here, it's almost like conversation with everyone out there in the ether. Are we still saying ether? I don't know. All right. Okay. Doing it light today. You can't do heavy all the time. I don't care how strong you are, you shouldn't. Um, Call it deloading if you'd like, if you want to get technical with it. Um, but today it's just the 35 pounder, and that's it. So, here's where I'm going to start out with. I'm going to hold it on the inside of my leg here, with my leg back here. And just, whoa, let's get it out a little bit. It kind of depends on how flexible you are. And just work on that hamstring. And I'm just going to get right into it. So anyway, it's a weird thing. I don't talk about politics much. Mainly because it can be kind of, to some like unprofessional, yeah, because it can alienate your clients. But also, I think in this country, you want to look on Facebook, we see things too much in a sort of binary. And I remember a great article written by Matt Taibbi on this. And if you didn't know, in case you're only reading the New York Times, you're only reading the Washington Post, or you're only looking at your conservative news, Matt Taibbi mainly writes for Rolling Stone. And while Rolling Stone has a lot of typical liberal writers, Matt Taibbi is one of the few real commentators and journalists in this country. And it seems to me those are the people that really aren't well liked because they don't have a lot of convenient things to say. How we get our information seems to be based on where we vote, right? Politically, where we are, instead of a spectrum, it's purely on the binary. So anyway, that was a good article. The other thing is I think there's a very unique sort of social conditioning that has a dark side in this country that I'm seeing like all over my Facebook feed. It's honestly how we vote. What I keep seeing. And how civil rights and everything are sort of, or civil rights, civil liberties, various things are sort of eroded. One, yeah, the Patriot Act has not been good for this country. We can point fingers all we want, but both sides of that aisle did sign off on it. Both sides do add things to it as a sort of means of consolidating power. Um, that seems to be very difficult. I've found for liberals and conservatives, and I live like in the area where there's a big time bubble. Okay, and that is the DC area. Most people I know like are government employees. You know, most of my clients, and I mean they're in it. They have to live in it, and it's a big time bubble. Um, and they don't seem to see or understand that culture outside of it, right? Outside of a sort of 20-mile radius. And they've been out of it since they got the jobs right out of college. And even if they grew up in these places, they become so far removed and get really into that bubble, right? Understood. If you're working long hours, the people you tend to associate with are going to be those people you see every day. I'm just making an observation. I'm not ridiculing. Nor am I saying anything out of judgment. However, there are dangerous things I've noticed in a post 9/11, post Patriot Act society. People seem to see their politicians as avatars of themselves and their values. That's dangerous. You will not hold them accountable that way. Do I see that more prevalent in Donald Trump supporters? Absolutely, yes. But I see it on the other side too. I can only watch Rachel Maddow for maybe 2 minutes. There's a refusal to admit fault that I think is dangerous. And a refusal to understand why you lose. It's a sort of flaw. Oh boy. Said I wasn't going to do that anymore. It's a sort of flaw in the binary, right? And it makes the idea of two choices just horrid. Especially when neither choice is any good, right? Or you don't see it that way. Now that being said, and yeah, we really need ranked voting in this country, I think. I really, really do. It's been just awful, in my opinion, because I did not find Hillary Clinton to be a great choice either. Now, I'm just being brutally honest here. The idea of lesser of two evils is no longer acceptable. You know, and I just find this utterly uncomfortable to talk to people about. And I'm only going to do this, like, limited, and I don't really want to get into it with people because the idea of civil discussion due to them seeing politicians or political parties as a sort of avatar of values is just dangerous. It's utterly dangerous. Politicians aren't interested in your lifestyle. They want to consolidate power. I've only seen a small handful that are not interested in that. And they're not really running things. And I've seen a lot of lies spread about them because if you don't toe the line on either side, you can get ruined. On one, like, you can get utterly ruined. And the media itself sees itself as the gatekeepers of opinions. I don't read the Washington Post anymore. It makes me sad, but I just don't. For that reason, they've become the gatekeepers of the bubble, you know, where some people will say the liberal elites and so forth, but they have. And on the other side, whereas it's a lot of gatekeeping and everything else and thought leaders on one side, the other side I find very dangerous because it's misinformation. I think I can't really discuss a lot of issues with conservatives because I think even the word conservative implies the sort of preservation of a status quo, right? Like I don't know, I'm gonna get on with this. You wish to conserve things the way they are. That goes against human nature, in my opinion. And I've seen a lot of misinformation that they kind of spread. And some things are fascistic. And it's just simply out of fear. I think a great summation, it was from the show Legion, which is based on the X-Men characters. But John Hamm did these great narrations explaining the thought process of humanity and what separates us from the animals. However, and what makes us unique, however, what I meant to say is how we view things. Now, let me get to my point. This is very difficult to do right now. So, I think how people vote and how Americans are taught to vote, and this included me, and I stopped doing this. This is how I broke myself of it, was one, yeah, I stopped seeing politicians as avatars, sure, but also how I broke myself of it. Americans are taught to vote based on their own interests. That's not good. That is not good, because you are prone to just listen to whatever you want to hear. You do not take others into consideration when you go into the voting booth that way. You don't. You take only yourself. That's dangerous, and I know that's what we're taught, you know? Vote on your own interests. So when one side says you vote against your own interest, even that can be dangerous. You don't take people in alternative lifestyles into consideration. You don't take people who are less fortunate than you into consideration. And again, it's just what we're taught. And it is, and I know the word for that is individualism. I've never really subscribed to it. And it is, it is kind of entrenched in the American identity. And I do see it with people like older, I think more prevalent, sure. And I think a lot of young people are moving away from it. Ideas evolve, countries evolve. And I think we're in a sort of painful moment in time for that. I think the death of a lot of uniquely American things, whether it was taught to us by writers like Ayn Rand, it's kind of fading off, However, the people who have consolidated that power don't let it go easily. They will insulate themselves. And it's dangerous, I think, and this is Democrat and Republican. Is one more guilty of bad ideas? You bet. But that doesn't mean one side should subscribe to it and just be the lesser form of those dumb ideas. And yeah, there have been some dumb ideas. Is one side more prevalent? Yeah. Because I've seen misinformation come from that, whether it's from certain pundits. And whereas some pundits are just intolerable, there are some, I think, that are just generally not good, that do spread fascistic ideas. And they'll tell you, they'll do things like redirecting and everything, and try to redefine the definition of something like fascism for their own means, and that's not good, and you shouldn't do that. You should question that. I think if you aren't questioning the people you vote for, you might not want to vote. It may not be for you, because you are not taking into consideration that we are a country, and in that country are people that aren't anything like you. And if you can't do that, if you can't take responsibility for that, then what you're doing is weaponizing your vote. Anyway, this is how I see things. This is why I can have a difficult time like discussing things, discussing politics, because I have gotten into numerous arguments with it, and I'm just being brutally honest here. This is the type of stuff I would discuss with a workout partner, and you know, in the sort of world of branding, as a personal trainer, I'm supposed to stay away from this stuff, and I will from here on out. But again, I'm just letting you know why I'm not going to really discuss it, and why I'm just going to stick to the workouts. But if you want me to talk about it, okay, fine. But if you get ugly about it, you're going to be deleted. If I see one person use the word cuck or libtard, or even oh God, what are the ones the liberals like to use for the Trump supporters? I'm just gonna, any of that language, I'm just gonna delete you, or delete your comments, because it's stupid, it's counterproductive. Okay, politics has become too much of a cult in this country, and I can't discuss it. And I don't believe in the idea of right wing, left wing. I think tribalism is kind of eroding the social fabric. So, but that does not mean that you shouldn't engage people. I think it can be done, but you have to just not be an asshole about it, and that's hard. I mean, yeah. All right. See you in a minute.